developed in response to the need for tanks that could break through tough enemy defenses. This tank was not just a machine of war, but also a symbol of British military strength and innovation in facing challenges on the battlefield. Today, we will explore the history of one of the most iconic combat vehicles of World War II, the Churchill tank. The Churchill tank not only played a role in various important battles, but also left a significant legacy in world military history. At the beginning of World War II, the British Army doctrine categorized tanks and their roles into three different types. First, light tanks were intended for reconnaissance. They were designed for speed and mobility, allowing them to gather important intelligence and conduct reconnaissance operations quickly and efficiently. Second, cruiser tanks were designed to move quickly through gaps in enemy defenses and penetrate deep into enemy territory. Lastly, infantry tanks were meant to move alongside infantry and support their attacks. These tanks were designed with adequate protection and firepower, and with slightly slower speed to match the infantry's pace. The Churchill tank was designed as an infantry tank, with thick armor and enough mobility to cross rough terrain while providing direct support to infantry forces on the front line. The development of this tank began soon after the war broke out in September 1939. Initially, the prototype of this tank was named A-20, based on World War I experience. At that time, it was commonly believed that tanks should be able to cross trenches, obstacles, and shell craters effectively. However, the situation changed drastically after France was successfully conquered by Germany, and British forces were continuously pushed back until they were forced to leave France. In this context, the A-20 design was deemed unsuitable for facing the fast and deadly German blitzkrieg attacks, leading to the cancellation of the A-20 project for production. Nonetheless, the urgent need for a more effective tank led to the decision to continue development with some significant changes, eventually bringing the tank to the production stage. This latest tank development was then named A-22, which later became the basis for all Churchill tank variants. However, the rush to get the Churchill tank into combat led to various problems, as by the time of production, the tank did not have enough time for adequate testing. The first variant of this tank was the Churchill Mark I. The specifications of this tank were quite impressive with the use of two guns, the QF 2-pounder with a 40mm caliber and the 3-inch howitzer Mark I with a 76mm caliber, and equipped with a Bisa machine gun with a 7.92mm caliber for additional defense. In addition to its strong armament, the tank was also powered by a Bedford 12-cylinder engine producing 350 horsepower, providing enough thrust for the battlefield. The Churchill Mark I tank was operated by a crew of 5, each with an important role in its operation. The crew consisted of a commander responsible for the overall tank operation, a gunner who operated the main weapon, a loader who ensured ammunition was always ready, a driver who controlled the tank's movement, and a co-driver who assisted the driver and operated the additional machine gun. The first combat action of the Churchill was not carried out by British forces, but by their ally, Canada. This tank was assigned to land in the Dieppe raid in France on August 19, 1942. In this raid, Churchill Mark I, II, and III were given to the Calgary Regiment of the Canadian Army. Initially, the Churchill tanks aimed to assist the attacking infantry to damage as many port facilities, German garrisons, and nearby airfields as possible. However, everything went wrong almost as soon as the operation began. After being unloaded from the landing craft, some Churchill tanks sank in the water and never reached the shore. The reason some Churchill tanks got stuck in the water was because many rocks entered the tracks of the Churchill tanks, breaking the tracks and trapping the tanks on the beach. Nevertheless, some tanks that managed to move towards German defenses proved to be resistant to German anti-tank fire. In this raid, although the Allies failed to achieve their main objective, the Churchill still showed the toughness expected in facing direct enemy attacks. The next action for this tank occurred in North Africa, specifically during the Second Battle of El Alamein. Although not comparable to the firepower of German panzer tanks, The Churchill's ability to climb hills was very helpful during the later stages of the North African campaign. One notable success of the Churchill in North Africa was during Operation Ochsenkopf from February to March 1943. It is reported that at that time, 2 Churchill tanks managed to destroy a German convoy, resulting in 200 German troops killed, 10 anti-tank guns destroyed, 25 armored vehicles destroyed, and 2 Panzer III tanks disabled. This success showed that although the Churchill did not have the same power as the Panzer, its adaptability and toughness in hilly terrain provided significant strategic advantages in battle. During the war, the Churchill tank became one of the most produced British tank designs of World War II, with a total of over 5,600 units made. This tank was also one of the most modified tanks, and Churchill tanks were used in various roles, with some still in use by the British Army into the 1950s.